Welcome to the No Sugarcoating Podcast. I am Amber Romaniak, emotional eating, digestive, and hormone expert. I am also the founder of amberapproved.ca. I support professional women achieve optimal health through mindful eating, self-care, and overcoming self-sabotage with food. This podcast provides the honest truth on what you really need to create body freedom. The No Sugarcoating Podcast provides information on healthy living, lifestyle changes, nutrition, and diet, and is intended for informational purposes only. Always seek the advice of your healthcare practitioner regarding your health and nutrition program. Hello, everybody. Hope you're having a wonderful, restful holiday season. We only have a couple days left of 2019 if you're listening before New Year's Day. Otherwise, Happy New Year to all of you who are listening after December 31st. Really excited to share this topic because I think as we, get into the new year, a lot of people start to think about dieting. And I know still a very popular what I'm going to call like fad diet or eating style is, to me, in my opinion, only ketogenic eating. And so my topic this week was really inspired by all the women who reached out to me in 2019 who tried keto or were told to go on some form of keto. And while they may have had some short-term results and lost a bit of weight after going off of it or after failing and binging, they gained a lot of weight back, even more than where they started when they were trying to lose. And it created all sorts of other health issues and mindset issues. So I really was inspired to share this because I think it's really important that whilst there may be a small community who can do it or doing it for short periods of time and have a healthy relationship with bodies and their food, I'd say for a vast majority of the people who are, jumping on this bandwagon, it's not manageable. And I personally don't believe it's realistic, attainable, or healthy. So this week I'm talking about ketogenic eating fueling weight regain, impacts of keto on cortisol, and why ending extreme dieting supports your health 100%. So be sure to stay tuned to the end of the podcast today for some announcements. I'm going to just highlight a couple key things before I dive in today, but you'll definitely want to listen to the end because I have a couple of instructions for you to prepare for episode 217 next week. So you don't want to miss that. So the show notes for today's episode can be found at www.amberapproved.ca/podcast/216. So excited. I just found out that my podcast interview that I did with Whitney Port, who is down in LA, she's been on the hills, the city. She's seems like such a wonderful soul. She's a mom. She's an entrepreneur. She's so many wonderful, beautiful things. And I got the opportunity in October to go to LA and record live with her on her podcast with Wit. So make sure you subscribe to Whitney's podcast. Again, it's called With Wit. And my episode with her is going to be coming out on Tuesday, December 31st. I cannot wait to share it with you guys. So stay tuned to Instagram and follow me at Amber Romaniak, Romaniuk, which is my name, because I'll be sharing about it in swipe ups there. And then as soon as I have the blog link, I will also share it in my show notes here. So really excited for that. We talked about all things emotional eating, self-care, mindset, hormones, digestion, cravings. It was really fun. So I'm really excited to share that with you guys. Make sure you subscribe to the No Sugarcoating Podcast, of course, on all podcast apps. It's also available to click through in the show notes in the links there. You can also go to amberapproved.ca/podcast-archive. That's ARCHIVE to listen to all episodes. And of course, if you are curious, if you're struggling with emotional eating, you can also take the emotional eating quiz at amberapproved.ca. And you can also subscribe for my newsletter on my website as well. So welcome all new listeners, all of you who've been listening for weeks, months, years. Welcome all. Thank you all for being here. And if you are finding a specific eating style isn't working for you, you're struggling with emotional eating, food addiction, digestive issues, inflammation, or you suspect you may be struggling with some of the stuff or hormone imbalances, and if self-care continues to be a struggle and a problem and you are low on your priority list, you're fighting with your body, with your weight, and you're just not happy, you're overwhelmed, and you do not know where to start or what to do next, you are in the right place, my friend. Because these are all of the habits and mindsets that I will continue to explore and help you set you on a different path. Amber Approved offers private coaching for hormonal imbalances, weight loss and digestive issues, emotional eating, and more. Contact Amber at amberapproved.ca to book your 30-minute complimentary consultation today. So my first point today, and again, like these are my opinions, these are my experiences, this is, what I observe with the women who come to talk to me and end up working with me and colleagues and coworkers and things like that. So this is my opinion and my information. Take it for what it's worth. I'm here to share my views and what I see. If that doesn't resonate for you, totally also okay. But I think that this is so important to share because it's still such an epidemic, and I'm just seeing so many women struggle with not only, different health symptoms, but the relationship with food, and of course then gaining weight back. And that can be really hard on the confidence if you are having body insecurities or your identity and your self-worth are still tied up in a number on the scale. So my first point today is exploring ketogenic eating, fueling weight regain. So there's actually many potential reasons why, people go on keto. They're high protein, high fat, very minimal carb, and some people may start to lose weight right away and get some really awesome results. But then once they go off of it, or binging happens, or emotional eating happens, or they just can't realistically maintain doing keto, then they gain the weight back very easily. And then often what I observe, with the women who are coming to me is they're actually gaining the weight back plus more. And usually what ends up happening there is because the metabolism is impacted, and it's impacted for many potential reasons. Ketogenic eating can be a massive stressor on the body, not only to prepare for it, but, the high protein, high fat. And I'm going to talk about that more in my second point, with the hormone piece. Also, if have a decent amount of muscle mass and we're losing it because we are eating so high fat, of course, the more muscle mass we lose, that can have an impact on our metabolism, and that can, slow it down a little bit. If you're fasting or you're skipping breakfast, that can really have a negative impact on metabolism, slowing down your hunger hormones. And it can also set you up for later day binges, throw the blood sugar out of balance. So you may also go, oh, I'm losing weight, but what if you're actually losing muscle mass and the weight loss actually is muscle loss? And ideally we don't want to lose our muscle. It's good to be strong, and having a healthy amount of muscle, I believe, really supports our health and metabolism. So I think that even just from a metabolic standpoint, and there's more, but I have so many other points that I want to delve into here, but I really believe that, if we are not aware of our body and we already have imbalances, this can just trigger an unfortunate series of more health symptoms, more imbalances, and more stress in the body. Another, part of this is if your digestion gets overwhelmed, particularly the gallbladder from all of the fat. Like if you're somebody who, again, already had a stressed out digestive system or hormones or stressed out just system in general, eating all of a sudden this abundance of fat can potentially trigger diarrhea and or constipation, and either of those is not ideal for ideal signs that your digestion is functioning properly. Constipation is not good if we're not moving our bowels at least 1 to 2 times every day, because we are then reabsorbing toxins into our body, excess hormones that we need to get out of the body. And this is where I see some women who struggle with constipation have high estrogen. And of course, we need to move our bowels daily to get that excess estrogen out of the body. Toxins, cholesterol, unhealthy bacteria, getting everything out every day is also important for metabolism, hormone function, energy, good digestion. So if you're experiencing constipation, I think, from this, it's important to really understand, how this diet may be contributing and impacting that. And then of course, diarrhea for other people. And do you know how your liver and gallbladder are functioning before you get into this? Most people, and I cannot stress this enough, if you take anything away from this podcast today, I hope it's that most people do not even know their current state of health or what health symptoms or imbalances they have, aside from any diagnosis from their doctor, before doing something like this, which can be dangerous and very risky and have a potential negative impact on your current symptoms or new symptoms. Why? Well, because just for example, say you have digestive issues, or you have a hormone imbalance and you don't realize it, or you're just aware you have some symptoms, but you're not sure why. And then again, you dive into this and then your gallbladder becomes even more overwhelmed, or say you have a bunch of gallstones and now you're eating excess fat. Like, it's a great way to have a gallbladder attack and need to go in and I know usually they want to just like take the gallbladder out, right? You block the bile duct and then you're in immense pain. Again, if the liver is overwhelmed, like the liver has to detoxify everything and has so many other functions in the body. So if we're, putting a lot of stress on our system with any existing symptoms or imbalances, it can push the body to a place that we don't really want the body to go. And when I say your current state of health, I mean, how are you currently eating? What current physical symptoms do you have? So do you have low energy, trouble sleeping? Do you have cravings for different foods? How is your digestion functioning? Are you having daily bowel movements? What's your hydration like? Do you struggle with emotional eating? What's your mindset and relationship like with food and your body? These all play a role in your current state of health. And there's a lot of other things too, but those are some of the key things that I look at. Your hormone state, right? So I think it's so important that we understand our current state of health and what's going on and all the root causes before we even consider jumping into something like this, because 9 times out of 10, it ends up being detrimental at some point for us. And I've yet to meet somebody who was able to do this successfully, eat keto successfully, and have no negative implications, whether it be physically, mentally, or emotionally. So to me, I've just gathered so much proof for myself that this just is not something that is ideal or sustainable. So, with everyone who is looking to do this because it's promising, quick, easy weight loss and you get to eat lots of protein and fat, if your focus is really aesthetic, I want to be a certain weight, I want to look a certain way, because that you're really tying your self-worth into that. I think it's so, so important. I think it's a number one priority, in fact, to actually deal with the low self-worth and the body insecurities you have with your weight, your body image, again, your relationship with food, the number on the scale, rather than doing another quick fix to try to lose weight and then, having it impact you in a negative way if you do gain the weight back, or you have other imbalances that happen, or now you have food fears because you're not, you're supposed to limit your carb intake. So I just think it's so important for us to be mindful and be aware of, what's actually fueling me to make this decision. Is it one of fear, worry, desperation, guilt because I've gained weight and now I need to lose it, right? Versus, do I know what I'm doing? Do I have the education and knowledge? And why do I need to go so extreme? Why can't I find a more happy medium? The No Sugarcoating Podcast is proud to partner with Cheryl Ramsey of Eden Wholistic, who is an advanced certified body talk practitioner and Helio Soul technique instructor. It is her privilege and honor to offer individuals the opportunity to go deep within themselves to heal what is creating blockages and stopping people from living the life they are meant to live. Working with Cheryl can be the start of an incredible journey to health and well-being. Body Talk is an alternative health modality which can focus on the subconscious mind where dysfunctional beliefs, thoughts, and emotions are held. Cheryl gently facilitates the release of those limiting beliefs, thoughts, and emotions, which allows for a deep healing at the body-mind levels. This can also allow the individual to manifest what they truly want out of life. I've personally seen Cheryl for Body Talk for the last few years, and it's been a very imperative and transformational part of the inner journey that I've had with myself. And you can read more and check out more about Cheryl and Eden Wholistic at www.edenholistic.com. That's EDENWHOLISTIC.com. Another thing, of course, that can impact weight regain is potential increase of cholesterol with all of the fat, especially bacon, butter, dairy, and increased inflammatory markers. So you could see elevated C-reactive protein and homocysteine. And again, the more inflammation you have in the body, the more your body's hanging on to excess cholesterol. And again, there's just all of these imbalances through the digestive system, inflammation, which usually then the more inflammation we have, it has an impact on our hormones at some point, especially the thyroid and adrenal glands. It can make it easier for you to gain weight. I know most of my clients and me as well in the past, the more inflammation I was experiencing, the more difficult it was to lose weight. And no matter how clean or well I ate, it wasn't making a difference. And so again, addressing the root causes of the inflammation was just so important. And also to realize that this eating style could potentially fuel inflammation depending on the way that you're doing it. I personally don't think eating more cheese and butter and bacon, which tend to be more inflammatory foods, is going to help, especially because dairy is the number one most common food allergen in the world. And bacon, whilst I believe in bacon in moderation and get good quality bacon, but it contains a lot of omega-6. And if we take in too much omega-6 in our body, we need some, but often we take in too much of it. So what ends up happening is if we eat all these foods that have more omega-6, is we end up having too high of levels in our body, and that can trigger prostaglandins 2, which actually contributes to fueling more inflammation in the body. And so, that's another potential reason that, again, with more of this in the body, it fuels your inflammation and just increases chances to hang on to protection and having difficulty losing it. So if you've done keto or tried it and you're not getting the results that you were expecting, there may be so many other underlying things here that are contributing to that. Nutritional deficiencies, if you're not getting, again, a well-rounded, balanced whole foods, eating of all different kinds of fruits and veggies and other aspects of food, you may become deficient in different nutrients. Where are your minerals coming from? Where are you getting your vitamin C from? Amongst, a lot of other vitamins and minerals and nutrients. Again, yeah, you're getting protein and fat, but it's just so important to understand, again, that could this fuel nutrient deficiencies for you, and then you end up with things like low magnesium and calcium, and that's important for your bone health, and you can get that from your, leafy greens and different vegetables and things like that. So, and then eventually if we, get specific nutrient deficiencies, that can have an impact on hormone health, metabolism, digestion, and weight. This is a big, big, big one. So I often find that, when people go into keto, it's very restrictive. There's a lack of fiber, so that can also contribute to the constipation, but it's very restrictive. And so anyone who already struggles with binging or emotional eating and is assuming they're going to do this as a way to gain control or minimize cravings, you're not actually addressing all the emotional reasons why you eat. You're not addressing the habitual nature of why you emotionally eat. You're not addressing your self-worth issues or people-pleasing, perfectionist, all or nothing mindsets. Again, this is just a band-aid. It doesn't help you address all the things that are actually fueling the self-sabotage with food. And for others, doing keto is actually creating emotional eating, binge eating, unhealthy relationships with food, eating disorders, whatever you want to call them. And then people are restricting and trying to be perfect on keto because you pretty much have to be perfect to get the results. And then when you can't continue to attain the perfectionism, people are falling off and going and binging on carbs and all the things that they're quote unquote not allowed to have or not supposed to have, whether it's because of rebellion, stress, or any kind of emotional eating trigger that may be going on. And then they think, oh my gosh, now I'm panicking. Now I have to get back on the keto because I'm starting to gain weight. And again, that fuels a very vicious cycle and what can be very detrimental, destructive cycle of any form of emotional eating or binge eating. And again, it fuels that yo-yo cycle where it's like I'm all in trying to be perfect on this diet, or I'm all out and I'm completely in self-sabotage with food. Another thing, of course, that this will do is this will have an impact on hormones, metabolism, mindset, self-worth, digestion, inflammation. And the more stressed your body is physically, mentally, and emotionally, the more likely your body is to hang on to protection and weight or put on weight and keep it on. The two last things that the body will do when you are in high stress are, for a woman anyway, are to reproduce and to lose weight. So for many of my clients who struggle to lose weight, it's often because there are multiple stressors and blocks in the way that we have to actually take the focus off weight loss and work on undoing the old diet mentality. We have to overcome emotional eating, balance digestion and hormones, de-stress and dedicate more time in the schedule. There's just so many important aspects of that need to be addressed, usually before weight loss happens. And for some, as they start making changes, weight loss will happen right away. But it's important, I think, to take the focus and the pressure off of that, because that pressure and focus on the weight loss and needing to lose weight often is what keeps people stuck and in these fad diets that then fuel more negative behavior with food and mindset. Another thing that I just have seen evolve so much from keto and restrictive eating styles is food fears. And I've talked about this before, but where you're told carbs are bad, even an apple is bad, a carrot is bad, bell peppers are bad, sweet potato, God forbid if you ate one. So people now are associating what are nutrient-rich, healthy foods as bad, and therefore they believe if they eat them, they will gain weight. That is very, very, what's the right word? It's kind of sad, to be honest, that society's at this point in life where, we're being programmed to think, oh yeah, you have to cut out these foods to lose weight, and then people are fearing them. It also can be very destructive because those food fears, again, disempower you to know how to fuel your body. And it also, of course, has a negative impact on your relationship with food if you feel like you can't even eat a fruit or a vegetable. So these food fears are real, and don't be ashamed if you have them, because I used to have them I never was keto, but I remember fearing eating anything but organic for about a year. And I didn't go out to eat once because I was like, I can't go to that restaurant. They don't have organic, and that's like bad for me. And it turned into this, there's essentially an eating disorder called orthorexia nervosa, which you have a fear of all foods except like this small circle of like maybe 20 or 30 foods. And you're convinced that, for some people, they're convinced they have to only eat organic and they can't go and eat at a friend's house or a restaurant. And this has a serious impact on your abilities to live your life. And as long as we're in the space of fear of losing control, fear of I can't eat anything but this, or I might, get sick or get inflammation or gain weight or whatever it is, we have to deal with the fear. We must address the fear because fear is making disempowering decisions for us. We're not in our power. We're trying to grasp for control with our bodies, food, and fearing losing control with food and weight. And again, fear is not an empowering foundation. It's a very disempowering foundation. Versus when we can learn how to listen to our bodies and build awareness and realize that quick fixes and fad diets only fuel old behaviors. And in order to create new, healthier mindsets and behaviors with food in our body, we must be willing to do the deeper emotional work and actually understand what's going on with our physical state of health, what's blocking the weight loss. Why do I have these cravings? Why am I constipated or having diarrhea all the time? I'm not drinking enough water. I'm losing control of food in the evenings. Like, why are these things happening? That's actually the focus we need to take. And if there are food fears, then I always work with my clients to undo those food fears and help them build food courage, because I don't want you to feel like you can't have certain things for fear of losing control or for fear of it fueling old symptoms. It's just not an empowering way to live. And we are around food a lot. And so the goal should be to get to the point of freedom, it's so liberating and so exciting when you get there. And I always like to let you guys know everyone is worthy of that. So when a lot of people do the keto diet, as soon as they stop and go back on the carbs, a lot, like I've said, easily gain weight. So you may know some people who've done keto and posted photos about their progress. And I'm all about progress. I just really believe that we shouldn't be doing all these restrictive things because it can do a lot of harm to our bodies. And we're not taking that into account. We're just focusing on aesthetics, but aesthetics are not our current state of health. I don't think weight loss equates to optimal health. I think it's one small piece of the pie, and there's so many other aspects that do. Because I've had clients who have quote unquote been healthy weights or been thin and have had heart attacks and who have high blood pressure and all of these other health issues, and it had nothing to do with weight. So that's when it really, to me, is it's the key focus here should not be weight. It's important to give attention to it, but we give too much attention to it. But yeah, you may know people have done this and lost weight, but how many have then gained it back and then some, but they don't share about that? It's not sustainable long term, which is an issue with any fad diet or quote unquote eating style. But, upon me talking more with colleagues that have done research or doing my own, it's again, just people like to jump on the bandwagon. It's oh, my colleagues and coworkers are doing it, so I'm going to do it. My friends are doing it and they've had success, right? And then what they're not paying attention to is, unfortunately, when their friends and family members and colleagues gain the weight back or fail, because you're not going, if you're the one getting this success, you're not going to go back and brag and go, I binged last night and I've been binging and now I'm back, right? That just doesn't happen. These types of back and forth weight fluctuation can also contribute to, like I said, the binge eating, the emotional eating, things like that. And or if you already struggle with emotional eating, binge eating, or an unhealthy relationship with food, the keto eating can definitely make it worse, which is a huge concern. And I just think that it's so important that we stop with the diets and start addressing all the other pieces of this, as I always say. And that's where it is important. And even just in some of the things I was reading through doing, research on top of what I already feel is in alignment for me, I really think that what many people actually need instead of another extreme diet is to actually get support. to be able to talk about your stressors and your struggles and your body insecurities and have someone help you, guide you through, and gain freedom from emotional eating or binge eating, and get to the root causes of your physical, mental, emotional symptoms and issues so that you can gain the freedom that you really want, and then you never have to do any restrictive dieting again. I really think getting to the root cause is always the key way to gain freedom and build optimal health. The No Sugarcoating Podcast is proud to partner with Herbaland. Herbaland products are sugar-free, gluten-free, vegan, and made with love in Richmond, BC. All of their vitamins and supplements come in gummy form, making them easy and fun to take. Their products are made for everyone to enjoy, including kids and adults. Whether you are struggling with capsule fatigue, have trouble swallowing large capsules, or you simply love your vitamins tasting like delicious watermelon, Herbaland is for you. And a fun fact about Herbaland is they are also the #1 gummy manufacturer in Canada. You can learn more and shop at www.herbaland.com. And that brings me to my second point, which is about keto and cortisol. So I really believe, and everyone may need a little, like a different amount, but I really believe that we do need healthy carbohydrates for good health and to support especially good hormone levels, including cortisol. So our adrenal glands are endocrine glands, and they produce cortisol, and cortisol is the stress hormone or the fight or flight hormone. So essentially, we produce cortisol when we're stressed or we have any stressful situations going on in any areas of our lives. We're not sleeping well. Also, when we're eating really high protein, high fat, because it takes more energy to break down our food, and that means we don't have as much energy to support balancing our cortisol levels. So I want to just talk about some potential symptoms of high or low cortisol that's out of balance. So low energy, even if you're sleeping like 10 plus hours a day, waking through the night or having troubles falling asleep and staying asleep. Abdominal weight gain. This is called cortisol belly because if cortisol levels are out of whack, often the stomach will puff out or stick out, or you'll gain weight there first. Brain fog, poor memory, fatigue, low sex drive, cravings for salt and or carbs and sugar. It's different for different people. Weight gain, of course, is a huge part of that. Feeling really fatigued after exercise. Also, after eating high protein fat meals, you do feel very fatigued. Your blood sugar's out of whack. You get shaky. You get cravings. Again, your energy can drop really easily, and you just feel really sensitive if you don't eat consistently through the day. So as I already mentioned, oftentimes if someone has too high or too low of cortisol and they're having very animal-rich protein and fat breakfasts, fat and protein rich, and probably animal protein, that if you feel tired afterward, that's a potential huge sign of cortisol. It could also be some detox. But I remember when I tried to balance my digestion, keto wasn't a thing back then, but I was just so fed up with my digestion giving me issues, and I really wanted to try and heal it. So I cut out fruit because I read this thing that said you have to cut out fruit, which seemed restrictive, but I tried it and my digestion was getting better, but I was eating literally like fish or chicken or eggs with some form of vegetables for breakfast, and then protein and veg and fat for lunch, and protein, veg, and fat for dinner. I still had like sweet potatoes and things like that, but the longer I did that, the more exhausted I was throughout the day, and my cortisol levels were already high, but they got worse. My thyroid then went out of balance. I became very constipated and needed to take magnesium citrate for quite a while to move my bowels daily. And then that Christmas, when a bunch of stuff hit the fan with family and personal, I completely lost control and binged and like ate the whole container of like Christmas trail mix and raisins and dates and chocolate covered almonds. And from there, that just fueled a cycle of binging for a couple of months before I really was able to delve in and deal with the emotional aspects and fully overcome emotional eating. But it really taught me that no restrictive eating style was going to help me heal my physical state of health or my emotional state of health. But it's fascinating to look back and see how eating that way and limiting my carb intake, especially in the morning, had such a detrimental impact on my hormones, and then constipation, and then I'm not detoxing properly, and my estrogen level shot way up, and then I gained a bunch of weight, and I wasn't binging anymore at that point after that. But just the significant negative impact on my hormones was huge. So I do think that if we're already dealing with sleep issues, emotional eating, food addiction, the people pleasing, the overbooked schedules, lifestyle stress like relationships, finances, family, work, etc., it's just so important to share that no diet, including keto, is going to address and balance your adrenal fatigue, your hormone imbalances, and any of this other stuff that I've just mentioned. And honestly, trying to implement keto when you're dealing with all sorts of other things like this will probably backfire because it's an extreme dietary change, and it usually only adds to people's stress levels because you're putting all this pressure on yourself to be very narrow in what you're eating, and that often will make the cortisol higher or lower and make your fatigue and stress levels worse. And then on top of that, if you're dealing with inflammation and blood sugar and you're wanting to do keto for those reasons, again, keto can be such a stressor on the body and the cortisol levels. So if you have elevated cortisol, as I talked about in a past podcast, then that can, if you have the elevated cortisol for long enough, it can have an impact on your inflammation, and inflammation levels can just grow and grow and grow. And people often don't and aren't able to address that cortisol is a huge part of their inflammation, weight gain, blood sugar imbalances, and other issues that they're dealing with. So, it really can be significant, like the negative implications. So, I just think it's so important that we address the underlying root causes of the stress, the negative mindsets, the overbooked schedules, emotional eating, gut flora imbalances, other hormone imbalances, nutrient deficiencies, eating in a balanced way, learning how to eat in a balanced way where there's also allowance for mindful indulgence. To me, that's just such a balanced, healthy way to look at food versus just full restriction and never, being able to come off of that. I think it's also important that when we have hormone imbalances, we need to look at our exercise routines and adjust those, not just our schedules, because, in my experience, sometimes we can think we need to exercise to be healthy, but if there's a significant imbalance with cortisol, like when you're exercising, you produce more cortisol, it is a stressor. It's supposed to be a positive one, but the body doesn't recognize positive from negative stress. So again, then you produce more cortisol and you can feel even more tired, and the blood sugar can feel even more out of balance, and your muscle recovery may be exponentially longer and you're sore for longer because your body is just so exhausted. So I hope that gives some insight into some of the ways that, eating keto can then impact cortisol and other aspects of your health. The No Sugarcoating Podcast is proud to partner with Rumina Naturals, a local Calgary-based company that bridges modern science and traditional wisdom to bring effective, natural solutions to new families seeking breastfeeding and newborn skincare support. Their best-selling, thoughtfully crafted formulas are pure, natural, and sourced with great care. A great admiration for Mama Earth is reflected in each of their mindful products. Milk Aplenty and Goat's Rue lactation tinctures are sold worldwide to mothers seeking lactation support. The research-backed formulations mean their products are effective and work fast. This winter, be sure to check out their Totally Tallow Skin Cream, food for your skin from head to toe. Ultra hydrating and exceptionally soothing. Everyone in the family will love grass-fed tallow for dry, irritated skin this winter. It's ideal for pregnancy mamas and safe for your baby's delicate skin. You can check out more and shop at www.ruminanaturals.ca. That's RUMINA naturals.ca. And that brings me to my last point, which really is why ending extreme diets is the ultimate support to your health. Diets tend to be a stressor, and the more extreme the diet is, the more stressful it usually is because you have to stick to it so closely, and it's not attainable if you have to travel, going out to friends and family members or restaurants to eat through the holidays, celebrations, etc. And of course, it's very restrictive to have to cut out whole food groups, especially if you already have an unhealthy relationship with food, or maybe this has created an unhealthy relationship with food for you, and now you're fearing eating carbs or, even honey or maple syrup or sugar or vegetables or fruits, which are, veggies and fruits are healthy foods. I think also it's so empowering to end the extreme diet mentality, because then you get to, work on undoing old limiting beliefs, negative self-talk about diets and the diet mentality. And it's this huge relief. It's this massive weight lifted off your shoulder to be able to go, I never have to diet again. I never have to start restriction January 1 or whenever in January you start your quote unquote diet. You actually you learn how to take care of yourself all throughout the year. And then you have to make no extreme changes in January, and often like not really any changes unless there's something in particular, like wanting to strengthen your digestion, or like you notice maybe your sleep went a bit off, so you want to work on that. But you're focusing on addressing why the sleep or the digestion is off, not, oh my gosh, I totally like ate my way and drank my way through the holidays and threw myself under the bus, and now I have to fix it all really fast. Like that fear, panic, anxiety mentality is never going to help you have optimal health or a healthy relationship with food in your body. And often it's not going to help you lose weight either, because it's a stress mentality. Also, when you ditch the diets, you don't do more damage to existing health imbalances or symptoms because you aren't making extreme changes. If you are struggling with binge or emotional eating, it's so important to always address that first and address your schedule, because those are the things that are usually making those symptoms worse. Packing on more weight, inflammation, sensitive digestion, hormone imbalances, low energy, poor sleep. Those making adjustments with those pieces, the schedule and the relationship with food, and then going in and starting to, specifically focus on balancing digestion or specifically focus on balancing hormones. It really is like a layer by layer journey. But again, when you take the time to take an approach that really works for you and really works for everyone that comes, to work with me, or like anyone that I've talked to that's really taken that time to build a healthy relationship with food and balance their physical state of health. It's not a quick fix that does it. It takes quite a period of time to do it. But then again, you're free for the rest of your life. Like I'm so grateful. And I'm going to talk more about this in episode 217 next week, reviewing the last decade, because I began the decade that's ending now full-fledged binging at my heaviest. I hated my body. I was in complete self-sabotage. And I'm completing this decade with full self-love, full food freedom, full body love, balanced hormones, happy digestion, a beautiful, loving relationship with my boyfriend, a thriving business, surrounding myself with quality people who are very supportive of me. And I'm so excited for what's to come. But it took me time to build this. And, I never would have guessed 10 years ago that this is where I'd be now. And it's so exciting. But again, it's just so important that we take the time that we need for our health journey and building our, healthy mindset and relationship with food. And you can take steps, toward taking a different approach and learn how to do these things. And, it's so mind-blowing and so empowering when, women that reach out start to do this work, and they are, in a short period of time, they already notice differences, with the way they're mindfully eating, or, taking their lunch break, or their digestion starts to improve, and they now start to have hope and trust again that they can do it, and that they're not just going to be stuck, struggling for the rest of their lives, because that's not how it has to be. So take the pressure off. So the last thing I want to do today, as long as you're not driving, and if you are, you can do this later when you get home, is to actually have you close your eyes, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, who could I be this year if I didn't have to start a new diet or feel like I need to diet to lose weight, to fix everything? What could I learn if I instead decided to build a healthy relationship with food and with my body, and didn't include any restrictive diets in that? What freedom would I have mentally, emotionally, and physically if I never had to diet, restrict, or count calories again? What freedom would I have if I didn't feel like I had to be a slave to the scale anymore? What freedom do you want in 2020? That's really what I want you to gain clarity on. And I'm going to talk more about that, like I said, next week in episode 217 as well. So you'll want to stay tuned for that. So if this is resonating for you and you are really, truly ready this year to take a different approach, shut out all the bandwagon buzz about all the diet stuff that's going on right now. And I really encourage you to book your 30-minute complimentary body freedom call. I can connect with you online, and we can talk more about your health goals and struggles and where you are seeking support, and share a little bit more about how I work with my clients and answer all of your questions. And we can see if it feels like a good fit for both of us. So I do look forward to connecting with you guys. So the show notes for today's episode can be found at amberapproved.ca/podcast/216. If you have questions, feedback, ideas for the podcast, things you love about it, things you don't love, please email me at info@amberapproved.ca and share with me that information. If you do have personal health questions, you can send them, but I please ask that they are no more than 150 words in length, as health histories usually need more support and private coaching may be a better fit. Again, make sure you bring a pen and paper or a journal and a pen to episode 217 next week, because we are going to be doing a lot of reflecting on this last decade that we've just completed and where you want to go with your health and mindset moving forward in the next year, the next 5-10 years. So it's going to be a very interactive podcast. There's going to be some great journal prompts, different questions, different things to really reflect upon. So I think you guys are really going to enjoy that episode. So definitely stay tuned for that. And as I always say, there's no better time than the present to take action on your health and a different approach. So take action now. Have a wonderful day and a great week. And I will look forward to sharing a whole new podcast episode with you guys next week. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. If you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe, review, and rate this podcast and share it with your friends. You can find me at amberapproved.ca and follow me on Instagram and YouTube at amberapproved. Join me next Sunday for another brand new episode and another step toward body freedom.